pandemic has brought Canadians together, pushed Americans apart. Polls suggest. Loch Ness Monster. Yeah. 88% of Canadians said they approved of the country's response. Oh, really? 88% of Canadians. This sounds like a totally legit poll. I'm sure there's no funny business going on here off the Canadian Brainwashing Corporation. And what do you got here? Families. And now a look at the modern day Canadian family. 2 dykes and a kid. Well, that would be par for the course for the Canadian Brainwashing Corporation. But yeah, families in Toronto's East End Danforth neighborhood bang pots and pans as a nightly salute to healthcare workers during the COVID-19 pandemic. I would suggest doing something else with those pans and pots. Maybe using them as some sort of blunt force object that I don't know. I'm not sure, YouTube community, who I would be directing it at, but perhaps elements of the government, perhaps elements of the healthcare system that rolled out this whole thing. So yeah, here you go. Canadians believe the COVID-19 crisis has brought their country together. Like, it's such a retarded statement. Like, in any way, shape, or form, even if you took polls, it's so disingenuous to say, yeah, the pandemic. Of course, you know the doublespeak. All right, so I'll show you the doublespeak. Now that I'm thinking of it, we'll do this. We'll say staying apart keeps us together. That is doublespeak. That is 110% Orwellian, straight out of the Ministry of Love. I mean, straight out of Oceania. That is doublespeak. Staying apart keeps us together. So the fact that they forced us all to social distance, and they took away our identities, and they took away our ability to communicate and hug and kiss and handshake and, stand next to each other and look each other, in the face kind of thing. And they have the gall to come out and say, oh, they brought us together. We're all together, and all Canadians love their government. Wow. I bet the polls would be similar if they brought them out, the phony polls for Australia. Now, they're just going to discount anybody that has any sort of contrary opinion on what they're doing. So while Americans blame the pandemic for worsening their cultural and political divide, a new international public opinion survey suggests. Now, think about this. I feel nothing but sympathy for Americans, as well as everyone in the world that's suffering through this. My fellow Canadians, Australians, it doesn't matter where you are. This is bad for all of us. None of it's good. Like, I'm not saying that good things can't come out of it, but come on, seriously, right? It's totalitarianism for the most part, and a medical tyranny. But if we think about it, right, the American situation is all because of the beast media. The beast media is the enemy of all true blue patriotic Americans. There's no question about it. And the beast media controls the left and right phony paradigm, right? That's how they keep you. Fox News and CNN, right? Breitbart and New York Times sort of thing. That's their game. Okay? And what the beast does is it divides and conquers. And so anything and everything that the beast can use in the United States to pit people against each other, it does incessantly times 1,000 sort of thing. It is what it is, folks. So the combination of the two-headed monster, the twin-demic, right, which is not really the flu and the fake one, but the really the corona, Kobe, and the BLM. That's the two-headed monster that has driven Americans apart. And that is all orchestrated and is all by design. So to say that Americans, because of their behavior, say their patriotism, right, or their freedom-loving, is threatening the foundation or is driving the country apart, is a load of crap. it's the beast itself that pits everyone against each other. And so much of it is so amplified, just like these shootings in quotation marks, because I don't know how much you can trust them, right? Certainly a lot of them that I've covered I wouldn't trust at all. But the fact that they use these things and they manufacture these things, which we know 100%, and then they blow them up to epic proportions, and then they get everyone to fight on the streets, or as many people as they can, over these things. It's all orchestration. So none of it is legit, really, when it comes down to it. So fully 2/3 of Canadians responded to a Pew. It's Pew. Something smells bad. Oh, it's Pew again. Okay, Pew Research Center. Okay, just throw it in the trash. Right? So Loch Ness Monster Study. That's what it is. Released Thursday, say they believe Canada is more united. That is the biggest pile of bullcrap. As a result of the coronavirus, well, 77%. They got the 88% and the 77%, and then where's the 33%? It's going to come. You know it. Well, 77% of the U.S. participants feel precisely the opposite is true south of the border. In the U.S., where patchwork of coronavirus-related restrictions reflects broad disagreement over the best path to economic recovery while mitigating the spread of the virus, roughly 3/4 say that the U.S. is more divided than before the coronavirus outbreak, the center said in a release. In contrast, nearly 3/4 of Denmark say there is more unity now than before the coronavirus outbreak. Again, it's meaningless. It's as meaningless as anything you could possibly imagine. As if these things are true. That's what they want you to believe. They want you to believe, look at the more communist countries. Everybody does what they're told. Everybody's working together to fight the evil Kobe. And it's the stupid white Americans who can't pull their heads out of their asses and who love their freedom and their guns that are creating all the Kobe. Right? It's that simple. That's what the beast will have you believe. So, roughly 3/4 say that the U.S. is more divided than before. Oh, sorry, where was I here? More than half of Canada, Sweden, South Korea, and Australia also say their countries have become... Australia. I wonder what the real sentiment of the people in places like Melbourne are. I'm not talking about the sheeple who are attached to their mind control. I'm talking about the actual people that are capable of cognitive, thought, or they're capable of thinking, basically, outside their box, outside their programming, right? That because you almost have to kind of just eliminate all the people that watch television when it comes to anything like this. If you watch television, you're under mind control. So you're whatever your opinions are, they're irrelevant because they are your programming. So anybody that watches television should be eliminated from any poll. Pew. I mean, that's just should be the most common sense thing. What? You watch television? Is at the grocer and somebody said, "Can you please cover your your mouth and nose because I have a bandana with your mask?" And I said, "What? You gotta cover," and I go, "Why?" And they go, "Because of the virus." And I go, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, the virus, don't you know?" And I go, "No, I don't watch television." I got a lot of looks. I don't watch television. Yeah, I don't watch Mind Control. That's what I said. And all of a sudden there's silence and people are looking and like thinking, "Oh my gosh. We've got one here that can see." Oh, they live almost, eh? So a similar bilateral group emerged, when those surveyed were asked about how their respective countries responded to the emergency. So here's the Pew. Interesting that their symbol here, I don't know how long they've had this, but it kind of looks a little bit like the Corona thing, right? The circle with all these appendages coming out of it. It also looks a bit like CERN as well. I know people will chime in on with that. Median of 58% across 14 countries say the pandemic has changed their life either a great deal or a fair amount. while 42% report not too much change or none at all. I mean, like, what? I mean, if you're out in the country and, you don't have to go into the city and you don't have to deal with, mastards and Masculvania and the Gestapo and the drones and the body cameras and temperature readers and all that, well, then maybe your life hasn't changed. Maybe you're not, you don't have to worry about having your friends over, or you can go and make parties and barbecues and have weddings. But everybody else in the big cities, I don't know how you could say your life hasn't changed and dramatically with what they've done, sort of thing. And so they show you these meaningless statistics here. We do have a 33. There you go, 33 to 66 for the UK. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, you know it, UK. Wow. Anyways, in Canada, 88% of the respondents say they approve of the country's response. It's just unbelievable. Go read the comments under the global TV, and well, CBC doesn't allow comments, but you'll see like 95% of people are outraged. So I guess you're not polling those people. Of course, they're not polling anything. They're just pulling this out of their rectums, right? And they're throwing it up on the screen, and they're saying, see, people love their pandemic. They love their tyranny. They love their dictators. They love their top doctors who are trannies. Oh, man. The difference of opinion in the U.S. was tied to the political affiliations of those who took part in the survey, said Kat Devlin. Interesting name, Kat Devlin. Wow. I don't know. There might be a devil in there. One of Pew Research associates who compiled the report. Of those identified as Republicans, 76% cheered the government response compared to 25% for demon rats. All right. In a way, the U.S., we do see these political splits among the two main political parties that may affect the overall views of U.S. versus Canada. A separate online poll conducted over the weekend by Leger for the Association of Canadian Studies asked Canadians and Americans alike which of the two countries they believe had better handled the outbreak. Fully 87% of Canadian respondents said their country's response had been much or somewhat better than the U.S., while only 38% of Americans... Why don't you ask... Hey, Pew, why don't you ask people how many people think it's fake? So nearly as many, they say 37% gave the U.S. higher marks than Canada. Well, I bet that's a pretty high percentage of white people too, eh? While 25% gave no as an answer. The Pew survey also found a distinct link between respondents disappointed in the response to the pandemic in their country and the likelihood they felt divisions had worsened. In every country surveyed, those who think their country has done a bad job of dealing with the coronavirus outbreak are more likely to say that their country is now more divided. So the message is clear. This kind of sums it up. If you don't lockstep, your country will be divided. You got to lockstep, folks. North Korea, come on. Follow your Führer. Follow your leader. Do what you're told. Follow your dictators. Do everything they tell you to do. Don't question anything. If they say jump, you say how high. And whatever you do, don't be an American, because Americans are too independent thinking. They're too distrustful of their government. They're too in love with their guns. They like freedom way too much. They love their Constitution way too much, at least the white people. Or, I mean, it's wrong to say that, but you know what I mean. Because everything is pointing towards the awful Trumpians, the white Trumpians, as being the evil people in the whole thing, right? That are causing the COVID and the spread and all that. I know there's a ton of patriotic black people as well, but you see the whole manipulations that are going on. So, the disparate versions of reality in the U.S. when it comes to COVID-19 have been on clear display over the past 2 weeks as America's political parties their eyes squarely on the November 3rd presidential election, have used their national conventions to spin competing narratives. It's all just a beast, eh? It's like an unending. It's like they just keep every single day. The beast will not stop. It won't stop. It'll keep doing this, and it'll keep pushing the divide and pushing their civil war that they want to create. Joe Biden's demon rats have excoriated Donald Trump's response to the pandemic ensuing economic crisis, accusing the president of devastating, inexcusable management, and his operatives of lying through their teeth about it. Republicans, meanwhile, insist the crisis is under control, even as the death toll, 183,000 people to date, out of a world of leading 6 million cases, continues to rise. Regardless of their political affiliation, Americans agreed that divisions in the U.S. have widened since the pandemic began, said the devil in here. This is actually one question where Republicans and demon rats, are somewhat united in their answers. About 3/4, at least, in both parties do feel this sense of national division here. And then they're showing kids. These kids aren't social distancing. They're not wearing masks, and they're touching the same thing. This is not acceptable here. Women who typically do more unpaid work at home, of course, because of toxic masculinity, right? CBC reported a disproportionate impact from the pandemic in 12 to 14 countries surveyed. So the Canadian portion of the Pew study involved 1,000. They always do like a number like that. Make sure you could just picture the regions that they're calling, right? If they actually are. Respondents across the country surveyed by phone between June the 15th and the 27th of July. And then they tell you the Americans, and then they tell you all this crap. And it's all just more of how they push this rhetoric, because they want you to do this stuff. This is like and this is something I've been explaining, like when it comes to BLM, or it comes to, say, the women's rights movement or the women's movement, for sure, the women's march. Those are excellent examples. The LGBT knows to be XYZ. They use the same tactics, just like they're used for the coronavirus. It's the tried, tested, and true tactics that they know work. One, of course, is to get people to cheer these things on, to celebrate. It's like when you saw all the people, banging the pots and pans from their apartments somehow in unison. Of course, because keeping or staying apart keeps us together, of course. Good old double speak. But they do this, like the same thing with the women's. I'm showing the women's march where the women around the world are singing this. They're singing in Spanish, and they don't even know what they're singing, right? Of course. And it's some, song that they came up with. And the fact that, you get women moving, you get people dancing sort of thing, it makes them feel better about what they're going through. They know the psychology of us, like they understand us, and they know that they have to do it with a smile. They have to do the awful, abominable sort of tyranny and what they're doing with the whole sort of martial law takeover, one globalist takeover, is do it with a smile. And the irony, of course, you're not even allowed to smile these days, Gordon. You can't really smile because nobody will see you through your mask. But, if you're up on your balcony or your whatever, out in your street corner, banging your pots and pans, you know what I would like to do with pots and pans? I'd like to drive by these people. Maybe I would find something to do with the pots and pans that I have. See, I got to be careful. I want to say something, but I can't say it because, Scroogle sort of thing. But, they understand how we work. They understand how to manipulate us. They know how to get us to cheer these things on. Yeah, look, read 1984, right? It's so much of what you see going on right now is happening, right? Getting people to cheer these things on, getting people to scream louder, getting people to go out and protest against the enemy, right? Encouraging people to get violent, to get, to foam at the mouth, to, shout at other people, just like the snitches get rewards, and all the rhetoric that they put out, encouraging people to do despicable behavior to their own neighbors and even families and friends. They know how to control us, at least the herd. we, of course, and everybody that's listening to this is definitely not part of this herd. And we see through their bullcrap, and we see through their scamdemic and their scamdemic polls, which try to convince you, you know what, it's going to be okay. I show you the rainbow symbolism that they use everywhere. Ça va bien aller, is that they say in Quebec. Yeah, it's really going well. You just put out like 500,000 people or 1,000,000 people in Quebec now out of work because of your scamdemic. How many people have actually died, and how many of those that you claim have died have actually died of your scamdemic? As opposed to how many people have lost their jobs and how many people have committed suicide, how many people have gone on drugs and depression and, alcohol and everything else, right? They want you to take it up the rear, right? That's what they want. They want you to embrace their whole scamdemic. It's very evil what's going on. Anyways, I thought it was important to talk about this type of programming and how it, they manipulate people. Because people, if you're dumb, you're going to read this article and you're going to think, yeah, I guess most Canadians I guess Theresa Tam isn't a man after all and is actually a great, great person, right? And, you know what? I like lockdowns, even though I'm not working or I'm not getting any pay and I'm screwed my future and all that, I can still accept it because I think they did the proper thing, It's unbelievable how this whole thing is played out. Anyways, I hope you guys are having a wonderful week. I am working hard. I'm working on several different videos on behind the scene, a music video and other things. I uploaded a couple classics to BitChute, so Free Radio Revolution. There's going to be a lot more going up. And, so I'll be doing a live show tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be a bit later tomorrow night. The bone broth coming out sort of thing. I don't have any phlegm in my throat, but we'll do the bone broth tomorrow. So I'll probably, I would say around 10-ish, p.m. I like to go a little bit later because I know my friends typically go earlier sort of thing. And I think it's kind of cool to do a later show. And I'm really looking forward to it. And I got a Patreon show coming up next week. So you still got time if you want to get on it. You just go to my Patreon. Help me out, help me keep the show going, sort of thing, and you get a chance to come on and talk with me and talk with all the wonderful people that we have in this community. It's wonderful. I'm very blessed, very, very blessed. Anyways, you guys are awesome. Be the change you want to see. Fight the good fight. Stand up for your rights, and stand up to this scamdemic. And I'll see you guys all on the next one. Take it easy, folks.